Joining us now, though, live is businessman and entrepreneur from Virginia, Pete Snyder. He's a candidate for the Republican nomination for lieutenant governor. That nomination will be decided at a state Republican convention held on May 18th in Richmond. Now, Pete, I want to get straight to the big news in Richmond on Monday, kind of overshadowed by the pomp and circumstance of the inaugural event. Senate Republicans basically jammed through a new redistricting initiative that did a couple of things. Number one, it allowed for another minority Senate district in the South Side, which is probably a good thing under the Voting Rights Act. But it came under intense fire from Senate Democrats led by Minority Leader Dick Saslaw, who went crazy over it, said that it was slipped in at the final hour. They didn't have a chance to look it over. It passed 20-19 in a straight partisan vote by Republicans. Saslaw went bananas, and he also said that as a result of this, he's going to put a dagger in the heart of Governor McDonnell's transportation bill. If you were lieutenant governor right now, how would you be reacting to this whole situation?
You know, John, as an entrepreneur and a job creator, what Dick Saslaw said and what he's doing is just absolutely pathetic. Okay? He's in a showdown over politics, and he decided to put politics in front of real results and saying that transportation is dead on arrival, that nothing is going to happen in transportation in this session. You know, John, I've stated to you before, look, I don't believe in this economy with what's going on that new taxes on Virginia families or small businesses is the answer right now to our transportation ills. But that doesn't mean that we shouldn't be trying to make progress out there. It doesn't mean that both sides shouldn't be working together. And for Dick Saslaw, right in the beginning of session, to say that nothing's going to happen on transportation because he has his undies in a bunch over being outmaneuvered, that's just pathetic. That's why people are disgusted with what's happening in politics right now. That's why they want real change. You know, I think the reign of the career politicians has got an end.
I mean, it seems
just not getting the results done.
I mean, it seems like this is a lot of inside baseball stuff. For the average guy on the street like me, here's what I'm interested in. I got to get from my home to my job. I got to get my son to his little league or his basketball game. I don't want to be sitting in traffic in a tunnel or on the interstate. I want a transportation plan. I don't really care about this inside baseball stuff, who's redistricting and what district where. I want results, and it seems like we're getting a lot of inside baseball stuff.
Yeah, John, isn't it odd? Because at the time that we're living in right now, 2013, in both Washington and Richmond, you know, it seems that the stakes for American families and Virginia families are only getting higher, okay? Issues like this. You know, I just was listening earlier, and I know they kicked the can down the street in Washington on raising the debt ceiling once again. You know, we're going to have trillions and trillions of dollars on future generations. The stakes for all of us keep on getting higher, but oddly, the politics of everything just keeps on getting smaller and more petty. It's absolutely pathetic. It's disgusting, and we need to have a change here. You know, you look at transportation. It's a complicated issue, and for crying out loud, John, I think you're probably the best focus group in the Commonwealth right now, because you did your show in Hampton Roads for a long period of time. Now you've transplanted to Northern Virginia. You get the double whammy of traffic issues in the Commonwealth. You know, something needs to be done. But I'm a big believer that we have an absolutely outdated tax laws in Virginia. You know, they're dating back to 1943. We need to do massive tax reform across the board in the Commonwealth. I know Ken Cuccinelli's looking at that. He's a reformer. But we need real tax reform. And, you know, when it comes to government programs and when it comes to transportation, we don't have a revenue problem. We have a spending problem in Richmond. You know, over the past 20 years, and I got to give credit recently Bob McDonnell's done a very good job of trying to rein in spending. But if you look at budgets, state budgets over the past 20 years, they have ballooned. I want to have a 10% reduction in the size and scope and spending of government. If you do tax reform and you rein things in, businesses can do it, families can do it at 10%, we can get something serious done on transportation. Those are real-world solutions, and it just seems people like Dick Saslaw always put politics over getting real results. Why? Because he's a career politician. That's the only thing he knows. And he's going to hijack the rest of the Commonwealth and our families because of his pathetic temper tantrum.
Pete, I do have to say, I've had Dick on my show many times. I do like Dick's candor. I definitely think, though, that trying to hold progress hostage because of internal political battle is not in the best interest of the citizens of the state. So we're going to hope to get Dick on our show and challenge him on that. Now, Pete, we've not been shy on our show considering transportation and saying that, okay, we got to find the dollars to fix these roads. It's $80,000 a mile to just pave something. You start adding in expanding bridges, infrastructure, tunnels. This is billions of dollars. Sure. There's been an argument on our show that, look, we're not going to find it under the seat cushions. So if you don't pay for it by increasing taxes, lay out your plan right now. How do we fix transportation in this state while not increasing taxes? Where do we find the money?
Sure, John. Look, we need to re-examine the whole business model, okay? Whenever people in the Washington Post and others clamor and say, oh, my gosh, we have a revenue problem here, we need to only raise taxes to find the money, that's simply not the case. I want to do major tax reform. Let's look at the entire structure of the business model of government. We have 1,000,001 different tax laws there. They need to be streamlined. They need to be modernized. They need to be updated. And then as we're doing that, we need to simultaneously look at what our priorities are in government. Where are we spending money? Where can we rein things in? No, it's not going to be found under the seat cushions, but I got to tell you, Bob McDonnell went into VDOT and he found $1.4 billion with a B dollars under the couch cushions. So that's big. We need to, look at it. We still have a milk commission in Richmond right now. Spending over $1 billion on that. That's not going to change our transportation problems. But you know what? If you were a family, you'd cut that in a heartbeat. We have a caves commission that spends hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. We have over 22 job training programs in the Commonwealth of Virginia. Those need to be streamlined. These are very small things, but if you look at the entirety of state government and you change the fundamental principles of the business model, you can find a solution, a significant solution for transportation in Virginia that's going to propel us into the future for decades. We need to modernize the whole system.
In your reform package, is there a percent, would you be comfortable as you analyze this saying, hey, I'm going to reform the tax code from A to Z, I'm going to pull it up by its roots and put something in there that's modernized? Is there a percentage reduction across the board in spending that you would be comfortable saying, hey, this is my target, I'm simply going to cut spending by this percent, take that money, and that's how I'm going to fix the transportation.
Sure. John, I've been very clear since the moment I announced for lieutenant governor. Before getting into the race, I talked to nearly 50 different government officials in Virginia, elected officials, those that run agencies, and I quizzed them all. I said, hey, look, I'm a business guy. Talk to me about budgets. Can you get away with? Could you trim 5%? No one blushed at all. 10%, people started to squirm a little bit, but said, Pete, we always pad them. You know how it works. Everyone pads the budget a little bit. 15%, they really started to squeal. But my target, and I've been very clear with this, would be around 10%. That's the target that I think if families can do, and small businesses, and I've run a number of them over the years. You can do that. And if we do that, that will mean hundreds of millions of dollars, if not billions of dollars in Virginia. But you need a dual approach. You need to look at fundamental tax reform for the Commonwealth, and you also need to look at curbing and reducing the size and scope of government. Governor McDonnell's done a good job getting out the scalpel and making some real changes over the past few years. But if you look on the aggregate over the past 20 years, the budgets in Richmond have ballooned, and enough's enough.
And I would ask two very key questions, Pete. If you're going to reduce the size of government, how can you do that when more than 2,000 bills and resolutions were filed for this 45-day legislative session? And secondly, I'm going to ask you about your opinion on the possible lifting of the 30-year ban on uranium mining. But since you're a world-class barbecue judge, let's talk about cutting the pork and reducing the number of bills that have to be pushed through this funnel of a 45-day legislative session. Where would you start? What's the priority here?
Steve, I don't really know how if I have to start anywhere when you have people that are submitting all sorts of bills, and suddenly, because they have a temper tantrum, they say nothing's going to happen. So, I mean, that seems to be this seems to be, at least coming from Dick Saslaw and the minority leader in the Senate, that he's saying nothing's going to go on. So, if you can't make any progress, get the heck out of town. What are you doing there?
Well, I would ask as Lieutenant Pete, I would ask as Lieutenant Governor, would you put a cap on the certain number or types of bills, especially in a short session like this where the people's business has to be done?
Steve, I would certainly look at all solutions there, but what I would try to do with the Republicans and with the Democrats is focus on real priorities. Instead of having a melee of bills because everyone wants to preen and show that they're doing X or Y or Z, why don't we focus on 3 or 4 things? I always found that in business, if you're entering a year or entering a quarter, you say, what are the 3 or 4 things that we really want to accomplish? What's going to be helpful to the cause? What's going to advance the company? What's going to advance, in this case, the Commonwealth? And you focus like a laser beam on that. That's real leadership. And I think that's what's sorely missing right now in politics.
I'm glad
in Washington and in Richmond.
I'm glad to hear that. And before we run out of time, I want to know where you fall on the bill that State Senator Watkins and Delegate Miller have introduced to possibly lift the 30-year ban on uranium mining.
Sure, Steve. I'm a big believer that America needs energy independence. Virginia is blessed by God with an amazing amount of natural resources. If you look around the world, the rest of the world, Vladimir Putin laughs at America because we put ourselves into so many knots and contortions, catering to certain lobbies to not tap our natural resources. I think we need to do it. Now, obviously, we need to do it safely. But as I understand, they are mining for uranium in Greenland right now, and they're doing it in a safe way. I can't imagine that we wouldn't be able to do that in America. So long as it's done safely, I'm for tapping our resources. We need to get our economy moving. Virginia's doing better than most, but we need to keep it going, and we need America to be off of the dependence on foreign oil and foreign resources. We need independence in America on energy.
Pete, we've got about a half a minute remaining. We appreciate you coming on with us today, and we like your candor, by the way. We're very frustrated with this convention process. We were opposed to it from day one, but it is what it is. We got about 30 seconds. If people want to get involved with your campaign, or they just want to become involved in the process, where do they go? What do they do?
Sure, John, don't be frustrated. The convention process is amazing. I'm excited to be a part of it. Go to PeteSnyder.com, delegate, and we will walk you through the process. It's democracy in action. Think of it like a wedding. May 18th, save the date. Come be a delegate for us in our big ideas. And we really need an outsider to shake things up in Richmond and in politics, and that's what we're doing. So be a delegate for us. We'll walk you through the process. But, John, let me change your mind on conventions. They're good things. It's democracy in action, buddy. We need you there.
Well, now that I'm thinking of it like my wedding, see, now I'm getting fired up. I like that. Thank you, Pete Snyder, candidate for Lieutenant Governor on the Republican side. That'll be decided on May 18th. This is the John for Redwick Show.